All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for taking the time out of your evening to join us. Tonight we have Carlos Childress and Gino Smith from the Central Florida Officials Association presenting switching and rotation. Apologize for the delay. We had a little bit of audio problems as we were testing out, so that's the cause for us starting to late tonight. So we apologize. As we did last year, these will be recorded. I will get them up on the Central Hub by the end of the day tomorrow. If you have questions throughout the presentation, please put those in the Q&A box and we'll answer those and get to those as we move through the presentation. Anything regarding FHSAA or general questions like that, we will wait till the end to answer those. So Carlos, Gino, thank you for being with us tonight. We appreciate it. I will turn it over to you, gentlemen.
How you guys doing? I'm Carlos Childress, Central Florida Fish Association. Switching and rotation has been a big thing that we all kind of struggle with at times, knowing where to rotate, when to rotate, how to rotate. So Gino came up with the idea of, we can't do the whole entire rotation of the manual. So he come up with a few dead ball rotations and ideas that we would like to share. Appreciate your time. Turn it over to you now, Gino.
Good evening.
You're good, Gino. We can hear you.
Okay, 10-4. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you doing? And ladies, my fellow compadres. I just want to thank Jeremy and Florida High School Athletic Association for allowing us to participate here, that all of our educational and tutoring needs might be met concerning three-man rotation and some of the sidebars concerning three-man. Just before we go into the slides that Carlos has so diligently designed for us, and I'd like to thank his wife equally as well. I just want to hit up first of all on timeouts. During timeouts, that's one of the dead ball areas concerning three-man that we're not facilitating as need be. Just to say short on that is, anytime we have a timeout, whatever position you were in during the time that the whistle was blown for the timeout, that is the position that you are to return to, whether it was lead, the C, or the trail position. And during the nature of setting up, whether 30 or full timeout, we need to recognize ball location during that time. If there's a timeout and the ball is going to be coming in anywhere in the bench area or table side, the administrative official should come out into the floor equally lined up at the 30 or the full timeout with his partners, so that if a coach would ask where's the ball going to be administered from, we can just basically point straight ahead. Coach is going to be right there on the sideline. That's one of the things that we need to take care of. And as far as dead ball officiating, we're to be in a position to be able to acknowledge if there were any subs that's coming in legally or illegally during that time. Did they ever go to the table to legally check in, rather than just, twiddling our thumbs, paying attention to what's going on in the stands. Just want to encourage all of us in the stripes on that. The other area is on free throws. We have too many officials at different times taking that time off. We all three at that time doing free throws have a responsibility. We're finding, first of all, with the lead. The lead is to administer the free throw and step back to the end line 4 to 6 feet off the lane line extended, and then hustle back in for the remaining shots if necessary. The C is to be able to see the free throw shooter's toe or foot concerning the line, as well as look across the lane and get the opponents across the lane in that area. And the trail, too many times now, is going to stand at the division line, supposedly to bring the subs in, when the subs can't enter the game until we give them a beckon and a hand and a whistle for subs to come into the game. So the trail needs to step down to be able to help officiate any players that are surrounded around the 3-point arc or behind the free throw line doing those necessary free throws, and then step back, get the subs in, and then come back down to your natural spot as a trail on free throws. Just going to run those two things by us that we might become more prudent on taking care of those situations.
So, Gino, can I interject a second?
Yes.
Speaking of the trail official, question came up in one of our training classes. Can I go into the backcourt if I got 4 more players in the backcourt? Or the book tells me I need to stay at half court, or around the 28-foot line, so I'm not going to go back in the backcourt. So the only exception to not being at half court, to exception to being at half court or in the backcourt, is we have to make sure that we have all players covered as far as watching what they're doing and how they're doing it. So, sometimes we give each other the eye, to look back court to where we just opened up. So, those are things as well that we need to consider in the rotation and switching, is to make sure we have full court coverage throughout, the entire game, even when there's players in the backcourt on free throws. So that would be the only exception to that trail, not, closing down and taking care of anything in the front court. Thanks, Gino.
No problem. Going thus farther, trying to see why I can't get Gino up on the screen.
Ready for the next one?
Yes.
You frozen, Gino? Looks to be frozen. So these are the simple, going into the backcourt, is easy with free throws, because generally, whoever calls the foul ends up trail no matter what, because it's with free throws. So we can kind of run through these pretty quick, and then Gino wanted to kind of elaborate on some of the other ones. You back, G?
Yes, I'm back. 10-4.
Okay. Did you gather what I said?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Here, our fellow officials is, as Carlos just spoke, is going into the backcourt with free throws. Anytime we're doing that, what we need to recognize that when we're moving in transition, even though it's a dead ball, to administer the free throws, if you notice, each official is pretty much taking the shortest route to get to the next point. Each official is pretty much taking the shortest route to get to the next point. The calling official will be table side at the trail, and the trail, that the old trail now is coming down to be the new lead, and the C, who was table side, is now coming down to be the trail once the ball becomes to become the C once the ball becomes live again. So each official took the shortest route to get in place for the free throws going into the backcourt. Next, Carlos. The center official calls a foul with free throws. Basically, what we just administered is, you notice that the C came across to become the trail again. The trail moved down to become the lead, and the old lead came down to become the C. Each one taking the shortest route. The trail calls a foul with free throws. Again, not
Okay, again, basically, what Gino's trying to say is that trail takes the shortest route. Now the C goes and becomes the lead, and then the lead just slides up and becomes the new C. So again, these are the easy ones. These are the ones that, we should know by heart. So the next few that we get into are the ones that we kind of tend to have to fill a gap sometimes as we go through it. Okay. All right. So trail calls fouls with free throws. Okay. Again, this is another easy one. Trail just goes over, becomes trail at the other end. C now shoots down and becomes lead, and then lead now slides over and becomes the C. Now Now we got a foul in the backcourt going to the front court with no free throws. Let me see if I can move this. With no free throws. So the ruling official, there, that's better. So the ruling official will remain table side. Exceptions to the center and trail when calling opposite will go opposite. This is where we sometimes make rotations outside of the, what the manual says. So there are a few of the exceptions. So in 35 and 36, which we're going to take a look at when the ruling official is the lead, then we'll also go with a C on 37 and 38, and then the ruling official trail in 39 and 40.
Hey, Carlos, just real quick, a clarification. It just came through the light gray circle. Is that where the official's first position was? And then
Yes.
the black circle is their new position. Is that correct?
Correct. So basically what you're looking at is that'll be front court. And then what they're showing with the black letters is that's when they get over. I mean, the back court is the gray, front court where we're doing the free throws is the black. That's
Perfect.
the position that everybody be going into. Okay. So let me go to the next one. I got to keep moving this thing around. All right, diagram 535. I mean, lead calls foul opposite, no free throws. Okay, so this is where, like I say, some of the times we make changes, but this is a simple one. Basically, I'm in the lead position. I call a foul. I'm going to go to the C position, and the C is going to slide over, become the new trail, and the new trail slides down and becomes the C. I mean, a new trail slide down and become the lead position. This is a simple one. All right. Now, lead calls foul table side, no free throws. This is where we got to recognize, am I calling the foul as a lead or am I calling foul as a trail? So right now I'm a lead. So this is where, everybody calls this a long switch, but basically it's just a typical switch. Normally when a foul is called on the offense or there's not been a 10-second count started by that lead official, they consider still to be lead. So at that time, the trail slides up, becomes trail because lead is coming out anyway, going toward the table to signal, hey, I got a foul on so-and-so, it's going to be on the baseline. And then he just keeps on going and assumes the new lead position going the other way. And C just slides and remains C on the opposite side. Okay. So now this is where C calls a foul, table side, no free throws. Okay. So basically it's just one real change. The lead now slides over because now the lead has become trail in the backcourt because we're going the other way. C now slides down and becomes the new lead at the other end. And then trail just pretty much slides over half court, depending on where the ball's at, and remains as the C. Okay. Sometimes what we do on this one, we make changes that, again, that are not necessary. Some of us have done it, some of us have seen it, so we know it. You should know what I'm talking about. If there's any questions, I'm gonna move on.
All right, one came through, just another clarification. Are all these examples that you're going through backcourt, going from backcourt to front court?
Yeah, just like the first one, it was talking about going from backcourt to front court. Yes, all of these examples are from backcourt to front court. Okay. Okay, move to the next one. Center calls foul opposite, no free throws. Now, this is the one where we really switch quite a bit. Basically, you call opposite like you're supposed to stay opposite without free throw. So basically the C calls the foul, goes to the reporting area, and then now he becomes new lead. And then the lead that's there slides over, become the trail, and the trail pretty much just kind of steps out of the way. So so the center can actually report the foul, and he remains as the center official. So normally the C and the trail on when we report, they kind of switch, and we lead a C and make him the new trail, and bump the other trail down to become lead. So that this is one of the ones that 95% of the time we kind of mess up. So this is one that we see quite a bit. Okay. All right. Trail calls foul, opposite, no free throws. Okay. Again, another simple one, but again, this is one of the ones that we also tend to switch on that's not necessary. Trail just comes out, reports, becomes a new lead, C, stays at C, and then the lead slides over, the old lead slides over and administer the basketball. Most of the times you'll see that C come over when that trail starts to come over, and we make that trail the C instead of the trail becoming a lead. And the last two that we just went over are the ones that we kind of mix up quite a bit. Gino, you're back. You want to jump in?
Hey, real quick, Carlos. Is it textbook to do a long switch?
See, we got to get rid of the long switch because there's nothing in the rule book manual that says long switch, because they kind of eliminated that a couple years ago when we went back to this one right here. This is what they used to call the long switch. This is where the lead, was the lead and then ran all the way down to the other side. I mean, ran all the way down and became the lead at the other end. That's what they used to call the long switch. Now, I mean, it's just a switch because, by textbook, the lead is supposed to become the lead at the other end and the trail stays trail. And now, as far as the long switch, is there a specific, which one we were looking at? Is this the one we were looking at where he was considering this to be the long switch? Is that what is that the reason for the question?
No, it happened a couple slides ago. I just saw it pop up.
Okay. So can you ask him if this is the slide that he was talking about, or whoever the person that asked the question?
Yes, he was referring to diagram 536.
Okay. Yeah, and again, they don't call it the long switch, but we refer it to as the long switch. But textbook wise, this is just a normal switch that the mechanic has kind of defined it a little bit a few years back.
One more. For those who aren't rotating correctly, it's wise to cover down and fill the open position on the court instead of pointing out the other official error during the game, correct?
Absolutely. We don't want to be traffic cops out there because, what in turns happen is if we start directing traffic and telling our partners where to go, that gives the coaches, oh, he don't know what he's doing. And that gives the coach that person to kind of pick on, and that person to kind of like, okay, this is the guy that I'm gonna lean on for, hey, he don't know what he's doing. And, I'm trying to get a call, so I'm gonna bark at him. I can get away with different things. So we just fill in, most veterans know how to fill in and know, to cover where it needs to be covered. And then you talk about it at halftime, after the game, so you take your time and, see where he's going. Like I say, the one thing about switching and rotating, if there's nothing going on with the players, we freeze, see what our partners are doing, and we slide where we need to do to cover. That's what most veterans do. And then that'll also, help some of the young officials build confidence. Like, okay, he didn't point that out. So yeah, we don't want to be traffic cops on the floor.
And then another one, does the long switch only pertain to two-person mechanic?
So again, long switch. When I first started talking about this, we talked about, so let's take this out. Lead calls foul. Let's change this to trail calls foul. with no free throws. So what I'm trying to get at, lead now, we just had a shot go up. Okay, the shot went up. Now we got a rebound. Okay, now we got a 10-second count starting. Okay, once that 10-second count start, there's no long switch here. So basically now I'm trail, and by rule, trail administers all backcourt throw-ins. So even in two-man, if I got a 10-second count going here and I call a foul, I go back and I administer the throw-in the backcourt. So that's what I was trying to say earlier. We got to recognize when we're lead, and we got to recognize when we become trail, because then everybody's responsibility changes. And that's not just for the person who becomes trail, because what generally happens is that now I'm trail and the lead guy see that I call a foul, then they'll run up and force a switch. I'm gonna go ahead and switch, but no switch was necessary. So we got to know exactly when we become lead, when we become trail, in situations like that. So that's why when we talk about long switch, it's an old terminology. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I mean, we understand what you're saying. It's just, that's why we've taken it out. And because we got to know when you're leading, you got to know when you're trail.
And I think you touched on this next question just right there with that last explanation. So the lead will no longer step and report foul and becomes the new trail.
Correct. He is not if you're a lead, 100% correct. If you're lead, because normally that means the foul happened on the offensive team. If you're lead, normally the foul happened on the offensive team before team B gathers the ball and start the count. So yes, as a lead, you will report the foul and you will no longer be trail. You would have to you become the new lead at the other end.
One last one, and we'll go on to the next ones. Are we supposed to switch on all fouls in two-person mechanics?
By rule, yes. Okay. By rule, yes, you're supposed to switch on all fouls in two-person mechanics. Now, do we do it? No. And sometimes it's because you got 2 games. Sometimes you have it because 3 games. Sometimes it's many different reasons why. But if you read the official manual, you're supposed to switch on all fouls. Okay, move on. We catch back up. We've done this one, that one. 39 we've done. Okay, and this is pretty much the last one that we really have. Trail calls foul, table side with no free throws. So basically it's pretty simple. This one is, trail becomes lead, C stays C, and lead becomes lead. I want to go back to read a couple of these. So we read 5, foul in the backcourt going to the front court with no free throws. All the exceptions are there. Now I want to just pick us up on 6. That's why I just kind of want to. Now all of these are in the officials manual. This is where we got all this information from. So now 6, when the table side center makes a ruling in which the ball will be taken out of bounds opposite the table, stand in the front court. This should be rare, but it does happen. As this would likely be outside the center's primary coverage area. When we're doing games, there's a lot of things that happen. I know if this is a transition play, center has free throw line all the way across the court. We just have to communicate what we're doing. Just like in 7, the ruling official has the option of going opposite table to avoid confrontation with coaches, benches after technical fouls or disqualifying foul in any adverse situation. So it allows us to do different things when there's controversy or something going on to where we call a foul and the coach is irate and we don't want to bang that coach for a second technical. So this is things that we talk about in our pregame, and pregame is very important when it comes to some of the things we just talked about today. When you got younger officials, hey, when we call opposite, we need to stay opposite, and they'll look and say, what you talking about? And then you kind of have to explain some of these things. When you become trail, when you become trail, you have to take the ball out in all backcourt situations. you know, rotating, switching is a form of communication as well. You know, you may have to rotate because of issues with players, you know, piling up, you know, on one side. So, Gino, are you back to where you can speak? You muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Ah,
So, if I missed anything that you heard, I mean, you want to add on? You may go back to anything that may have been missed.
no, just Jeremy, just to the officials. I was watching Carlos. I don't know what happened on my end, but we okay. If we can take the word fellow officials, if we can take the word long out of it. When that foul occurs in the front court, as Carlos said, at the lead position, whether it's a player control, team control, whatever the case may be, everybody's in the front court. The trail should be 28-foot line or below. So once that lead calls that foul, it's no different than him or her going down to the 28-foot line for free throws. Okay, so it's not long. It's just and
All right, Gino, you kind of breaking up again. Now, Gino, you still there? Because you're kind of breaking up. Now, this is what we kind of prepared. I mean, I have another presentation that I did with other switching and rotating and you know, where to stand as far as basic fundamentals. You know, if you guys have more question here, if we have more time, I can kind of bring that up and we can kind of run through it to where you guys can look at even, you know, a few more things like that. I mean, and discuss. But I'll leave that up to you guys, Jeremy. I don't know if we have more time or how you want to handle that.
No, we have more time. It's 6:35, so if you want to pull those up real quick, if
Okay,
there's
I'm
any
gonna
other
stop sharing.
questions, well, yep, go to
I'll
stop sharing.
stop sharing for a minute.
If there are any questions in between that, while Carlos is getting the next slides ready, go ahead and put those in and we can kind of talk as Carlos gets those slides put up. Can you talk about who administers the ball on throw-ins and fouls?
That's a tough question. Okay, so where's the ball going to be taken out of play at? Where did the foul occur at? So you know, you have to actually have a few more questions. I mean, a little bit more information with that.
Hey, Steve, if you want to put in a few more examples or provide some more examples, we can get Carlos on those answers for you as examples. While we're waiting, I'll just touch on a few things since we have some time or a little bit of time right here while Carlos gets going. The exam is open now. So for those of you who are registered already or are planning to register, that is available and open to our officials. COVID, we're going back. We're playing as normal as possible. I'm sure Ed will be sending out or has sent out the information regarding that. Obviously, we want everyone to stay safe. So if you prefer to do some of the things that were in place for last year, as far as wearing gloves or masks or things like that, please feel free to continue doing that. We encourage you to also follow any local guidelines that may still be in place. If they require masks and things like that. So just want to touch on those a little bit since we had some time. We can touch a little bit more at the end, but Carlos, I see that your presentation is back up, so I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess that was a great question as far as who administers throw-ins. So this was part of one of the classes that we taught. You know, we always need to indicate the color and direction for the throw-in. The front court official is responsible for the line they're administering official. So basically, if I'm the lead official, on the end line, I have the, I mean, that's where I'll be taking care of the ball. As a C, if it's on my sideline, I'll take care of the throw-ins on my sideline. And as far as the trail, same thing. So everybody know the primary coverage area, which there should be a slide on that. Backcourt, as we talked about, the new trail or the trail is always the administrating official in the backcourt. And then again, depending on throw-ins, and there's we'll see a diagram 5-5 here shortly. Always take the ball out accordingly at the right spot, because teams do actually design plays based on where the ball is taken out at. We shouldn't take the ball out, even if it creates a rotation. We need to take the ball out where it goes out at, because that coach may have a play specifically for that area. All right, move on to the next one. There we go. All right, so basically, everybody can take a look at the graphs. I mean, you can see, like I was just saying, lead. You can see the lead. The hash marks for the lead. You see where the C has primary coverage area, and then also the trail. So then you can see where the throw-in spots. Now, this is another one where sometimes we don't put the ball in play where it should be. We get right inside the 3-point lane line, whereas the white area, and then all of a sudden we still take the ball out on the end line. So this is a designated spot throw-ins, the coverage area that we kind of need to learn and know, and then be able to point to the right spot and put the ball in the right position. Make sure you make eye contact with your partners before putting the ball in play or handing it to the other official. So, all about communication with your teammates. Like I said, I'm not gonna read everything, but when administering throw-ins is on the sideline, a bounce pass is recommended. I sometimes bounce the ball when there's a press going on. Sometimes on the end line in order to get away and make sure that I have good court coverage area. But again, it's really recommended to bounce it when you're on the sideline, because that gets you away from some of the benches. Sometimes you don't have the 3 feet. And in case there's a quick steal, if you get 3 or 4 feet away from it, it'll give you an opportunity to get back to be able to officiate any fouls, any plays to the basket. Now this is another one that we always also kind of do a lot. Every dead ball, we should only really whistle to indicate players about to begin following a charge timeout, beginning of a quarter or extra period, or any unusual delays. Sometimes that ball goes out of bounds, and we blow a whistle. Sometimes go out of bounds, hand it in, and we get it going. It's not necessarily blow the whistle every single time. But this is things that, as veterans, we know. Some of the younger officials, these are things that we need to work on and kind of echo what the veterans do, and kind of take a look at what they do when it comes to blowing the whistle. Okay.
Hey, Carlos, in 3-person mechanics, does the C ever administer the throw-in?
No, C would never really administer a throw-in, because lead's gonna come over to his side, to that person's side, and you always become a trail official. So you always double team the basketball, so you always have 2 people on the side when there's a throw-in. So C will never, and they may start off at C, but they won't be C when we get ready to do the throw-in. Okay. All right, moving on to the next one. Okay, so backcourt inline throw-ins by trail shall be made from outside of the thrower. Some of the younger officials who may be on this call, on the Zoom call, that means you stay on the outside between the sideline and the thrower. You should never be inside between the thrower and the basket. You should never be basket side of the thrower. That's, that puts you out of position right away. I mean, if there is a quick steal, if there's something in the paint, now you're out of position and you really can't officiate. You go all the way out to the 3-point lane line, as far as your part of your primary coverage area. And you can't see that when there's bodies in front of you and you're underneath the basket. So let's make sure we stay on the outside of the thrower. All right. Any questions? When the clock is stopped, use proper verbal and visual signals to indicate the spot throw in and move along the inline privilege or if they're in effect or not. So basically we got to use our mechanics. Our mechanics does a lot for us as far as talking to the crowd, talking to the coaches, talking to our partners, talking to the table, So if there's anything, if I've shown them that they can run the inline, and then all of a sudden my partner come up, hey, wait a minute, no, it's a spot throw in because of this, I don't want to mistakenly call a violation on them because I gave them bad information. So as long as we're communicating with the whole entire team, it helps everybody have a good game so mistakes like that doesn't happen. All right. Okay, so like we talked about, inline throw in the front court, opposite remains in the front court. So this is diagram 5-8. So I hadn't seen these in a while, so bear with me. Yep, let me go back, I'm sorry. Bear with me. So if you guys have any questions, bring them up. So if you're not confused, so 5-8 is the next one. This is 5-7, so 5-8 is the next one. In the front court, throw in is always administered by the official responsible for the boundary line, which we've already covered. And we can move past this one because some of these things we've already covered. Sideline throw in front court, ball out of bounds, opposite. Basically, it just tells you what needs to happen. If the ball goes out of bounds, sideline, C now becomes the trail. He'll take the ball out. This is a situation we just talked about where the C now is going to take the ball out, will become the trail. And because we have to double team the basketball, lead will slide over and become lead. And then now we have a new trail. So C will never be taking the ball out. All right.
Carlos, for three-person mechanics, who has throw-in responsibility when throw-in is on sideline but near the end line?
It will be the trail official. Trail official, that's his whole entire boundary line. If we go back to that, one of the very first ones, let me go back to it. Where you at? This right here, as you can see, it tells you who has this whole entire line. So whoever's on that sideline, that's the person that will take the ball out. So C will be taking the ball out. Anything on his sideline, Trail will be taking the ball out on his sideline. It doesn't stop short at the coach's box. I know sometimes we bounce the ball to the lead. That is, I believe, a college mechanic where the lead takes the ball out when that ball is about 2 feet, a foot or two from that corner from the sideline. I mean, from the end line. So we stay with our responsibility and we must bounce the ball. That's where we bounce the ball and get away, give yourself enough room to be able to officiate.
And then I have clarification from Steve on an example that he had. Lead calls foul with free throws and goes out to report. Who administers the free throw?
You say lead calls foul.
Yes.
Okay, so now lead is now going to be, and you say he's opposite table?
At the bottom, it has opposite or table side.
Okay, so look at this diagram here. So right now, the person that's going to administer the free throws, because what's going to happen is lead's going to go up, and then C's going to slide down. So now you're still going to have lead. You're going to have a new lead. the C now is going to be the new lead. He will be the one administering the free throws. Trail will stay put. Okay. Now, is he okay with that explanation? I mean, it's pretty simple. Lead will always administer the free throws. It'd just be a new lead doing it.
Hey, Steve, if you need further clarification, just put it in the box.
Okay. And same thing. If that lead is table side, again, he'll become the trail, and that trail who would be trail table side will come and become the new lead, and the new lead will administer the free throws. All right, get back to 11. So again, we've talked about this one. And here is a old saying that we used to say: the new trail officials shall administer all throw-ins in the backcourt and may need to change sides in order to do it. So depending on the spot throw-in, this is what we call the bump and run. You know, so I'm over at lead. I mean, I'm at trail table side. Ball goes out on opposite table, you know, near the 28-foot line. I'm gonna run over there to administer the throw in, and then basically the C now shimmies up the court and becomes the new lead, and then the C slides in and becomes the new trail. Once we get the ball in play and get over half court, he'll be the So did I say that right? Let me see. Yeah, I'll still be the trail, so he'll be the C until we get over half court. I'm sorry, he'll be the C. All right. Okay, a change of possession, the center will slide down the court, administer the throw, and become the new trail. The old trail will move to become a new lead. Now, this is in diagram 515. So lead will move the court and become the new center. So let me get to that diagram so we all. Okay, this is 515. Okay. So, and let me understand this. So the ball, we're going. So the ball was coming. Gino, I think you back on, Gino? I think we talked about this.
I think he was driving.
Okay, if the ball goes out of bounds in the backcourt on center side. Okay, there you go. If the ball goes out of bounds in the backcourt on center sideline, and there's a change of possession. So this is about a change of possession. All right. Like I said, I hadn't seen these in a while. So basically, what we're saying is the ball's coming up the court, going. You see the arrows going up the court, and then there's a change of possession, and the ball goes out of bounds. So they're telling me the C is going to come now because it went out on his side and become the new trail. And then the lead will slide over and stay as the lead. And then the trail slides up and becomes the C. So basically the ball's in the front court. I had to talk through it, guys. I hadn't seen this in a minute, so I had to talk through it. So what this is telling me is the ball's already in the front court. So now we got a change of possession turnover to where C is going to come up because it went out on C side. And that's one of these things where we talked about whatever sideline you own, that's the sideline that you have to administer the ball. So now I'm going to slide up as the C and take the ball out as the new trail. And then lead is going to slide over, and then trail goes to C. Does everybody kind of understand that one? This is one I have to talk to like 5-6 times. You got any questions on that one, Jeremy?
No, sir. Good to go.
All right. Okay, this is press coverage. All players are in the backcourt. So if we have all the players in the back court, as you look at the grays, so we have lead, who's got those players in front of him. He's out of bounds on the end line. Trail has not fully, he's a couple steps past where he can see the last couple players, and then C is roughly around the 28-foot line. So this is with all the players in the backcourt. And then as we start moving up the front court, you can see how everything kind of transitions. Okay. And I don't know why Trail went to the lead that quick, but all right. Let's do. Now this is also full court press. Now I was lead, now I'm becoming Trail. Ball's going the opposite way. And then you have C, who will remain C, and then now you have Trail, who's getting ahead of the players and that have who's entered the other half of the court in order to stay ahead of the players. And then that's how we just move up the court. Players in front court and back court, front court and back court on press. So this is where they spread it out. If you can see the lead, again, he's not all the way down to the baseline. This is one of the most important clips we have here, because as long as you're next to the players, a few steps behind the players, if there's a quick steal, I'm still in position to be able to hustle back up the court to be able to help out my partners if they're, on a fast break or whatever happens. But if I'm all the way down at the end line, I mean, that gives me 20 feet, 15, 20 feet of space that I have to make up. And then honestly, can I really have good angles on number 4 and number 5 as they're guarding or working around each other? So I'm not trying to get all the way down to the end line. I need to stay up close, not necessarily close, about 4 or 5 feet, beyond the furthest player in order to be able to be in good position to hustle back. And C, great position. He's starting off, if you look at the C, he's starting off at the free throw line extended, and he's not moving too fast because he still has to help out his partner. And then now Trail is in great position because he hasn't come onto the floor yet. And once he comes onto the floor, again, you want to stay behind the ball a few steps in order to make sure that, again, if there's a quick steal, you can get in good position to make a call. All right. Player coverage. Activity of the thrower and nearby players is the primary responsibility of the administering official. Okay. Whenever the ball is getting ready to be put into play, as that lead, Trail, our primary, or C, which it shouldn't be a C, I'm sorry. Lead or Trail, we got to make sure our primary responsibilities are the players that are around us. Non-administering officials, our primary responsibility are for the players at a distance. So what does that mean, at a distance? So the players that are not immediately in a competitive matchup, players that are spread out, in your primary coverage area, watching for screens or watching for the hold, so not ball watching is pretty much what I think that's telling me. So that's what I would consider is to be watching the players. All right. This is one thing that Gino kind of talked about. Switching position according to the official manual's diagram after each foul before the administering free throw. So basically, where we're supposed to be, this is where it talks about being 4 or 5 feet off the floor, not standing next to the players, having a conversation and but getting in position every single time according to the official's manual. And okay. All right. What am I doing? Let me go back. What happened Okay, I don't know why this slide is off a little bit. I don't know how I can fix. So basically, I don't know if you guys can see it. What Gino was telling us earlier when he first talked about it is the lead responsibility. You know, you have the first guy, and then you have everybody else across the lane, and then the C, which for some reason, I'm sorry, you can't see the C. You know, the C really has the free throw shooter, and then also the first guy, first two guys on the opposite side. Um, Sorry, you couldn't see that one. So basically, we need to step down toward the end line when the ball contacts the backboard. And this is basically we're talking about. Let me go back. I couldn't see it. Wrong one. So I believe we're talking about, yeah, the center official. That's what it is. They're talking about the center official. Basically, should step down toward the end line when the ball contacts the backboard or ring and officiate rebounding action in your primary coverage area. Now, the lead official should check to see that the free throw lane line spaces are properly occupied. I mean, these are, you know, the criteria that are listed in the officials manual. Like I said, I'm not going to read every one of them, but these are ones that we felt were very important to kind of bring up. Oh gosh, why is this doing this? Can you guys see the whole thing, or is it just me?
No,
All right,
it is cut off a little bit on ours as well.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Let's talk about trail foot official, you know, where he needs to be 28 foot off the end line, just inside table side line boundary. Observe players backcourt, condition warrants. This is one thing that we've talked about, or if condition warrants, move into the backcourt. And opening up is a good thing if you don't have to move and can see the players. But if the players are way down underneath the free throw lane line free throw lane line extended, I think we need to be further into the backcourt, because if there's a quick steal, if there's a long pass, we'll still need to be in position to hustle down to get a good, clean look. I mean, we don't have to get all the way to the end line, but if we can get a good, clean look, take a look, pause, look, and then move down to the end line once we're 100% sure that everything's good and our partners are on the way. Okay. So we talked a lot about correctable errors this year with our training class. You know, the number of the types of correctable errors that there are, and most of them had to do with wrong shooter, shooting free throws, unmerited free throws, not awarding proper, you know, somebody merited free throws. So this is all about communicating with your partner. Don't be in a rush to get to the table, because sometimes, you know, if you're a young official, if you do JV basketball games, you normally don't have an adult at the table. So you may be in 1-1 and you should have been in 1-1 2 shots ago, and all of a sudden, you know, they're telling you 1-1. So we need to kind of know when we can correct an error. We need to know who our shooters are at all times. So take that extra second to talk to your partner and let them know, hey, I got 24 blue shooting 1-1. I got 22 white shooting 2 shots. You know, verbalize that with your partners and your teammates. You know, this way it'll help your game go a long way. And again, lead position we talked about should be 4 to 6 feet off the end line. You know, these are things that, you know, we should be practicing, you know, not standing next to the player because it'll save me a few steps. But these are things that they look for, you know, if you want to make it to the state, if you want to separate yourself from average officials and want to make yourself better, these are the little things that they look for when it comes to deciding, you know, who I want to do my game. And that probably happens also when it comes to your whatever association you belong to. So do the little things, and it'll make your game stand out that much more. Okay. Where am I? Oh, move that again. Okay. Center position, home position is along the sideline, straddling the free throw lane line extended. Again, this is where, I mean, yes, we can move up, we can move down to good field of vision and make sure we have the proper angles, make sure we can see the play all the way to the basket. You know, so again, can't go through everything. I just want to point out some of the highlights of the things that some of us need pointing out, especially me at times as well. Trail home position is at or below the top of the 3-point line, arc extended and along. Move this again. Along or just inside the sideline. I mean, so it kind of clearly tells us where we need to be. You know, we just got to be. We shouldn't worry ourselves about getting beat back unless we're 20 years old and we still got the speed of a gazelle. I mean, some of us veterans, you got to use your experience, you know, to be able to step down. And again, when we talk about hustling back and getting beat back, that's where you stop, take a look at the play all the way to the basket, and then you can hustle down to the end line. I mean, as long as you see the play, that's what's most important. I mean, I know we'd like to get down on that baseline, but some of these kids on a quick steal, they're just way too fast. Okay, primary coverage area. You know, how do we maintain it? You know, we talk about the triangle, wide triangle whenever possible. You know, moving to obtain the best angles, move to improve. You know, don't be like a ping pong moving for no reason. You know, there's a lot of things we can go over. Ruling may be made outside an official's primary area, but the key is we need to give that primary area official, if there's a double whistle, that's his call. We need to drop our hands and let that person who primary coverage area the play comes out of, let them take it. Now, if there's something we have to get and there's not a call, we do have primary and secondary areas. You know, we just need to know how we've been calling the entire game. I mean, if we've been calling the game and that was a call that, you know, went both ways and you saw it, we need to get it, then we have to get it. Here's your primary coverage area. You know, this is, and we sometimes lose this and don't work on it with our trade. I mean, in our pregame, most of our pregame, we talk about the C we have to have a strong C. Whoever's in C has to be strong. We have to work a strong C. Why is that? Look how much area the C has to cover. Okay. Look what the trail is in the C, in the league. You know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hit that. I was trying to move. Did I do that? Nope, I'm sorry. Let me go back. I'm sorry. All right. Need to move this out of my way. I'm missing something. All right. So we know where the lead area is at. 3-point responsibilities and when the ball comes into our area. Now, 95% of the time, lead will dictate a switch. Now, if that ball's up near the midcourt line and that sideline, you know, that C's got to get up there to kind of officiate in that area, you know, and normally 5% of the time that lead will go ahead and make that switch to help his partner out, because otherwise, you know, we're leaving the primary matchup, you know, unofficiated as far as being able to get a good angle, and it puts us in a vulnerability of anything could happen at that point. So, if everybody's understanding, officials must thoroughly pregame secondary coverage areas where coverage areas intersect. And that's what we talked about as far as primary and secondary areas. I don't know if I have that shot or not, but when we talk about secondary, let me see if I got that one before I get ahead of myself. No, that's not the one. So basically, what I was trying to get at, no, I think it's the next slide. So 3-second counts, we know about 3-second counts. Lead has primary 3 seconds, center and trail primary 3 seconds responsibility when they are officiating off ball. We very rarely get 3-second counts from center and trail, but it tells us when we're refereeing off ball, that is part of our, that is part of our secondary coverage area to where we can reach in there and get one. I mean, I know we don't like to reach from there to get it, but did they gain an advantage would be the question we would ask. This is where I wanted to get to. Drive to the basket. When the player starts to drive to the basket from an official's primary area, the official has primary coverage of the player and the ball all the way to the basket, even if the ball moves into another official's primary area. Okay. So now drive to the basket when the handler passes to a teammate, crashes into the defender below the free throw lane line, are known as a pass and crash situation. If the ball handler and a pass to the strong side, trail takes the pass. This is to the strong side. Trail takes the pass, lead takes the crash. Okay. If the ball handler makes a pass to the weak side, center takes the pass and lead takes the crash. Okay. So basically, primary, secondary. So the lead has got the secondary defender is what I'm reading on this when they're going to the basket. Okay. So anything that's going to the basket and you got a pass and a crash and it wherever it originated from, normally that becomes lead secondary. So we got to know when to give it up to the lead, and we got to know when to give it up to the C or to the trail. So we got to know where our primary defenders are at. So we referee the defense. We'll understand who's primary, who's secondary. Pass, crash, are they legal or are they not? You know what? That may be the end. I do believe that's the end. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, we did have one that came through on the PCA. When the closely guarded count starts on L's primary, but dribbles into C's primary, do you see a handoff? Do you see a handoff of the court? And then also, should C start in closely guarded count when starting in the C PCA?
So this is basically if you start a 5-second count, and one of the things that I have talked about with some of my partners is if I start a 5-second count, you're gonna know I have a 5-second count, and I'm gonna stay with that 5-second count until it's terminated. So you may have to help out as far as refereeing your secondary just a little bit longer until that 5-second count terminates. Because handing it off, I mean, how would your partner know how many seconds you've had? I mean, because your partner not looking at the count when you started. I mean, he may see you when you started, but he's not counting. He's still worried about his secondary, his primary area. So as far as handing off, I don't see how you can actually do it and be accurate, either for the defense or for the offense. So, I mean, handing it off, I would not recommend. Now, what was the second part of that?
It was, should C start / end closely guarded count when starting in C for the PCA?
Yeah, once you started, you stay on it. I mean, no matter where it goes. If it goes into your secondary, you need to stay with the 5-second count. So if it's in your primary coverage area, then unless Trail has something, when it comes to from Trail and he has a 5 second, don't start. But the minute the Trail comes off of it and it's in your area, then you start the 5 second count and then you terminate it, when it's done. Either when you got the 5 second violation or it's been passed or stopped and held. So at that point, it's basically, if it's in your area, get the count unless your partner's already started one.
Perfect. We'll finish up with this last question. What is the call/primary when play goes to the basket and there is a player control in the paint?
That's basically what we kind of talked about as far as pass crash. But if there's a player control, it states whoever primary area it comes from has that all the way to the basket. So if it's the primary matchup, offense, defense, and it's going all the way to the basket, and then we have a block or a charge, if it came from C will make the call. If it came from Trail will make the call. Only time it would be opposite of that is if it came from C and ended all the way up, in front of lead on the other side of the lane line where C had bodies in front. But what would happen is that lead would kind of hold his whistle to make sure C didn't have anything. Or if there was a double whistle, that's the one you give up to C because it came out of his primary area.
Awesome. Thank you, Carlos. So that's all I have tonight. That'll be the last question. Carlos, Gino, we appreciate you guys coming on and sharing some knowledge with us and taking the time away from your families. This is the last scheduled PowerPoint or webinar for basketball right now. However, if there are any other association leaders out there or trainers out there who would like to host one or have a topic that you would like to share ideas on, please feel free to give me an email or a call and we can work something out. Definitely don't mind getting more of these put on for our officials. Would actually encourage having probably a couple more before the season really got going. So again, as of right now, this is the last one, but wouldn't mind having a couple more. Had a couple of questions earlier come through on the test. You can log in and log out and save your exam as many times as you want prior to the deadline. So it doesn't have to be finished all at once or in one setting. As long as you hit save and exit. Once you hit submit and then you confirm it to be submitted, it will go through and the grade will be counted. So they've kind of tried to put an additional step where you have to confirm it and all questions have to be answered. So they try to put some safety nets in so it doesn't just accidentally get submitted. But once it's submitted and confirmed, it will submit for a grade, and that will be your one opportunity for the exam. The deadline is November 15th. There was a question about electronic rulebook for those of you who may be interested in that. You can get that through the NFHS Rules app. I think it's $4 or $5 through the app electronically since we went back to the hard copy version for our officials. Let's see what this last one was. Oh, just a thank you from Billy Simmons. So again, with that being said, look forward to having a great season. Excited for the upcoming season, and if there's anything in between now and then or a webinar that gets posted and scheduled, it'll definitely get out to all of our officials. So hopefully everyone stays safe, has a great season, and we'll chat with you guys later. Thanks. Have a great night.
Thank you.